From ghoulies and ghosties.
From ghoulies and ghosties.
And long-leggedy beasties.
And long-leggedy beasties.
And
things that go bump in the night. Good Lord! Deliver us.
Deliver us.
Hello there, spooks and spookettes, Count Drahoon here, and tonight I present to you my review of David Koepp and Steven Spielberg's latest film, Disclosure Day. But before we begin, allow me to take care of the castle-keeping notes. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Count Drahoon Presents, if you haven't already. Of course, if you are a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. Might I invite you to take your support a little step further by becoming a patron through our Patreon page. For $1 a month, you will have exclusive access to content only made for my patrons. Each video is different. What I like to do is, let's say you have a topic you want me to cover. For instance, is there such a thing as a werecat? Comment below on one of my previous other videos in our vault, and I will make a video specifically for that topic, if you're one of my patrons. For $5 a month, you get all of that, plus exclusive access to our private Discord server, and your name will appear at the end of each video in the credits. And now that that's out of the way, let's get into the heart of the matter, and hopefully you won't find the need to drive a stake through it. So, I went to see Disclosure Day fairly recently. I'll just sort of give you some of the context of my experience of watching the movie. I did see it on IMAX. The lady that was sitting next to me, I believe, was intoxicated. She seemed to be enjoying the film a lot. Probably more than anybody else. And in your Count's humble opinion, probably more than anybody should. So the basic plot of the film: Emily Blunt is the star. She plays a meteorologist by the name of Margaret. And you also have another main character played by Josh O'Connor, Daniel Hellner, who works for a big corporation that sort of has a government contract, and they do a whole bunch of top secret stuff. And one of the things that they have is that they have in their possession alien technology. And they also have in their possession a bunch of stock footage of alien sightings and crashes and whatnot. So Hellner decides that he just can't take it anymore, and he needs the entire world to know that aliens exist, so he steals all of the data from his company, who's being pursued by a very handsome and somewhat complex villain, Colin Firth, who chase after him. And while all this is going on, Margaret is having some weird stuff happen to her. Basically, a cardinal comes in and visits her, makes eye contact, and all of a sudden she can read minds and talk in different languages. And while on a live feed, she starts to talk alien, just while she's doing the weather report. Basically, these two plots converge together because Hellner is a part of a larger conspiracy that has happened within the company. The ringleader is actually played by Coleman Domingo. His name is Hugo. And basically, Hugo's entire plan is to get these two together because they were touched by aliens at some point in their childhood, but not inappropriately. But they've been given gifts by the aliens, and together they're supposed to come together and disclose to the whole world the existence of aliens. Hence the title, Disclosure Day. So, what I like about this movie, The cast is really solid. I mean, really, I love all of the actors in this movie. Colin Firth is a legend. Emily Blunt, of course. I do like Josh O'Connor. Even though I haven't quite found a film of his that I love, I cannot deny that his talent is off the charts. Of course, I'm a big fan of Coleman Domingo. I really like him as an actor. He has a great way of talking and a natural charisma that I don't really see in a lot of movie stars nowadays. The movie has good lines of dialogue in it, but they're sort of peppered in here and there. But overall, I was super disappointed by this movie for various reasons. From a technical standpoint, the lighting in this movie is awful. There is just so much bright light and sunshine that is sort of coming in, and I don't know if that was intentional. I don't know if the DP was trying to create some sort of a solar flare or lens flare kind of effect to it. It didn't work for me at all. I was surprised at how cheap it looked, and that's shocking to me to see in a Spielberg movie, because usually Spielberg is very good about creating sort of a big depth of feel to his movies. Like, you're watching it and you feel like that this is a big world and there's a lot to it. I feel this way about just about every movie of his that I've ever seen. And in this movie, it just doesn't feel as grandiose as a lot of his other pictures. I'm really reluctant to say this, but I think this movie has revealed that Steven Spielberg is simply out of touch with the everyday lives of normal people. And I'll explain. The way in which the news of aliens existing, the way that it's disseminated, is so unrealistic. Why couldn't Daniel Hellner simply upload all the information online? The movie almost dealt with this, but it didn't give us any sort of real explanation. Because the question is asked in the plot, like, why don't you just upload it to the internet? And it's some lame excuse that, oh, well, nobody's gonna believe it. I guess implying that it's automatically disinformation because it makes its way on X or social media and whatnot. But definitively, if we get it out there on all the big news outlets like CNN and Fox News and MS Now, well, then everyone's going to believe this. And he's basically creating this trope that's frankly an outdated plot idea. Like, this would have made a little bit more sense if the movie was made about 10 years ago. But right now, trust in media is at an all-time low. So in reality, if this news came out on news broadcast channels like CNN or Fox News, most people would be a little skeptical and say to themselves, well, what's the angle here? Is the government, like, trying to distract us from something else, or is this the real deal? So his entire approach going into the end of this movie for this said disclosure day, it doesn't make any sense. I just can't imagine that anybody in this day and age, except for maybe 20 to 30% of the population, and obviously that percentage I'm thinking about is well over the age of 65, like, nobody's gonna buy that. It really fails to meet where we are in the moment in terms of the zeitgeist. Spielberg also said some very odd things during the press junket for this movie. Recently, he said something to the effect that this movie was going to challenge people's faith, particularly if you're a Christian, because basically this movie was going to tackle the topic of aliens existing so well that you're going to walk out of it thinking, well, do I really believe in God? Is there a God because aliens exist? And this movie fell so far from being profound on any level. As a matter of fact, I think Spielberg could have gotten away with saying something like that if he had said that while he was promoting Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Because that movie, along with E.T., even his version of War of the Worlds, are far more profound movies about aliens than this one is. Because with those three movies, it already tackles the existence of aliens. It shows us what each character in those particular stories, how they interact with that knowledge, what they do to face it. There's nothing new here. Aliens exist. Okay, Mr. Spielberg. So what? You've already demonstrated that they exist in several other of your movies. What makes this particular story significant compared to those other ones? And again, why make this movie in 2026? Like, if he had made this movie 20 years ago in lieu of his War of the Worlds version, which I actually like, by the way. I found that to be a really good movie version. I don't know how it compares to, say, the 1953, but I think he did a very good job of adapting the story of War of the Worlds while also staying true to the source material, but he did it in such a way where it looked plausible if all of that stuff had happened in the mid-2000s. But he made it today, and I feel like there has been so much done with the alien genre since then. Like, this movie doesn't even stack up against a film like Dark Skies. That alien movie that I think Blumhouse put out about 10 years ago. J.K. Simmons is in it. Kerry Russell's in it as well. That was a better alien movie than this. And at least with that one, it was scary and suspenseful. I mean, there's some pockets of suspense in this film here and there, but it's all sort of undercut by the fact that these characters make a lot of really stupid decisions. By the way, I would like to point out that I did talk to a lot of people of faith, particularly Christians, when I was preparing for this movie review, and most everybody has wrestled with what Spielberg claims to be the first person to talk about in this movie. You know, this entire argument of like, well, what do you do if you find out that aliens exist? And by and large, most people who have given any sort of thought about this have been able to reconcile both their faith in God and the fact that aliens could exist. So this isn't anything new. It just adds to the point that there's nothing profound here, as much as Spielberg would like to think. So you have these moments of suspense that are really undercut by these really dumb and seemingly implausible decisions that these characters make. You know, for instance, Helner is trying to get back into the farmhouse so that he can get his girlfriend out of there, and it's like he's literally approaching this wall of federal agents, and it's like, for one thing, why would you do that? And number two, how did these agents not see him? It's just an example of how disjointed the entire plot structure of this movie is. I mean, you have things like that, and then you have Emily Blunt's character, who just seemingly out of nowhere has her abilities to know everything about a person, to talk in different languages. And I just feel like the whole scene with the cardinal, I understand that is the alien presenting itself as an animal in order to make themselves palatable for a human sight. But at the same time, it's like it happens so quickly. Like, we don't even get a moment. You know, I feel like just a few seconds or maybe a whole minute of Emily Blunt interacting with this creature would have been a little bit better and would have helped us understand more of what was going on. It just happened. Like to the point to where, like, you almost forget that the Cardinal is even in the scene at all. It just really throws a wrench in the pacing of the movie. And I would also like to point out that the character development is very lacking in this movie. It's not that fleshed out. Like, we get some inklings that Margaret is sort of struggling a little bit. I mean, she's got sort of like wanderlust where she's trying to find her place in the world as a newscaster or whatever. But then also it's like they just sort of throw in the fact that she had an encounter with aliens when she was a kid. And I know that they're trying to build suspense as to, you know, what that moment looked like, because they keep referencing it. They're like, this thing happened to you when you were 10. And it's like, we don't get any notion of what that is exactly. And what I'm saying is that I think it would have been better if we maybe had some flashbacks of, what happened, and maybe her dealing with the fallout and the trauma of that and trying to piece it together. And maybe that is a proper explanation of, like, why her character has, she does kind of have these erratic traits as an adult, and they don't really do that. It's sort of jumbled. It's like, we meet her and her boyfriend, played by Wyatt Russell, who is badly misused in this movie, by the way. We meet her, and then the journey sort of begins, and then we find out, oh, well, you actually had an encounter with an alien. We don't see any tension about that. And, this thing with her father, it's alluded that he had Parkinson's, so, like, she's afraid that maybe she's crazy. They didn't really play into that a whole lot, and I would have liked to have seen that. And also the same thing with Helmer's character. Like, why couldn't we see that, how much of a screw-up he actually was, and, like, how this event that happened when he was a kid impacted him? We don't really get any of that. We get a lot of exposition and explanation as to how this happens, but we don't really see a whole lot of it. And it was just, it was very bizarre, and it felt rushed. And we as an audience aren't really given a chance to, I don't want to say suspend our disbelief, but, like, we're not given a chance to have a little bit of cognitive dissonance. Like, it would be kind of neat from a writer's perspective if, like, they sort of toyed with our emotions a little bit. And it's like, well, maybe she is crazy and this is all made up and blah, blah, blah. And we don't. It's like, oh no, aliens are real. It's too matter of fact. I think that's the best way to explain it. It's just like, we're not really given a chance to be surprised or to find out anything. It's like, it's all told to us. And it makes the movie boring. And the same thing with Colin Firth's character. We do have some inklings in his character. We see that he's motivated by just a little bit more than greed and power. There is this weird scene where Emily Blunt makes him think that he's seeing his late wife. So he is sort of a human. Like, they're trying to show us that he has some basic humanity, and he is sort of driven by greater motives than his own personal wealth. We do see that, he cares about maintaining the order of the world because he's afraid of the planet finding out and then not being able to handle the news. Which, unfortunately, this kind of shows how out of touch Spielberg is, because the government has already put out, supposedly, evidence that aliens exist. So the world is a little bit more concerned about a lot of other things that are chaotic and going on. And it turns out the news about aliens is, like, number 5 on, like, the top headlines of the day. And maybe that would have been a better movie if we have Disclosure Day and, like, nothing happens. And then that's a whole moral quandary of, like, wow, the world is so messed up that aliens exist and they have revealed themselves and the world doesn't really care. That would have been a much more interesting movie than what we got. This seems to be the year of lame plot devices. The alien technology was so underwhelming. It's this little thing that you hold and you just twist it and you slap it, and then you can have alien powers, but they're kind of limited and only a few people can actually handle it. I mean, come on. Spielberg, you gave us the ships from E.T. I mean, E.T. had all of this power literally in his little tiny fingertip. Ouch. So it was just sort of dumb. The alien designs themselves were very generic, like shockingly generic for a Spielberg movie. I mean, the creature design for E.T., even the aliens from The War of the Worlds were much more interesting. Now, granted, I mean, you could argue that possibly these aliens are a little bit more similar to the ones that we saw in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But again, it's like Spielberg isn't really doing anything new. I heard another reviewer say that the aliens basically look like any merchandise you could get at like the Roswell like souvenir stands. And I would imagine that that's the case. There's just nothing... I mean, honestly, the aliens look like the front poster for that movie Run that came out last year that everybody hated. Like, I think that this was almost as underwhelming as the perfume from the Luc Besson's Dracula movie. And we all know how I felt about that. So overall, you can tell I was not a fan of Disclosure Day. And if I had to just sort of sum it all up, like, forgetting all the technical aspects and the shortcomings of the script, the biggest disappointment for me is that I consider myself a fan of Spielberg and David Koepp. I'm sure most people do who love movies and appreciate films. Spielberg is, to many, the greatest American filmmaker of all time, and I would support an argument suggesting that. Spielberg created the template of modern alien films and modern sci-fi films to an extent as well. And to see him fall short of the standards that he created is really sad to watch. And I'm not one to tell people to hang it up and to discard their life's passions. Obviously, if Spielberg makes another movie, I'm going to be there to watch it. I just hope that it's better than what we saw with Disclosure Day. So those are my thoughts on Disclosure Day. What did you think? Comment below. I'd love to hear from you, especially if you like the movie and you have some counterpoints for your count. No pun intended, of course. Thanks again for watching, and also, please, if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to Drahoon Presents so that you get notifications on more film reviews and other sorts of projects from your dear old Count. But until then, always remember that as far as things go, when things go bump in the night, there are such things.
From ghoulies and ghosties.
From ghoulies and ghosties.
And long-leggedy beasties.
And
And
long-legged
long-legged
beasties.
And
things that go bump in the night. Good Lord! Deliver us!
Deliver us.
Oh, Dinah, you cannot be in this review. Nobody asked you to be in this review. Stop making this about you. It's not about you. No, don't kiss Daddy right now, okay? Don't. No, I can't be kissed. No. Stop it.